Hello, this short webinar is provided by uscivicstraining.org, George Washington's Farewell Address, Part 7, Foreign Policy, Morality, and Virtue. And Washington has some interesting thoughts here on foreign policy and where morality and virtue intersect. So to begin with, he says this in paragraph 31 as we move toward the end of Washington's Farewell Address. Observe good faith and justice toward all nations. Cultivate peace and harmony with all. Religion and morality enjoin, or meaning urge us in this conduct. And can it be that good policy does not equally enjoin it? It will be worthy of a free, enlightened, and at no distant period a great nation to give to mankind the magnanimous and too novel example of a people always guided by an exalted justice and benevolence. This is saying here that our behavior toward foreign nations are acting with good faith, justice, honesty, and integrity toward nations, as well as our model of government in the Declaration and the Constitution, will eventually move the United States quickly to becoming a great nation and serve as a model to the world. And so the Founding Fathers in Washington in particular realized how the United States had become a depository of freedom and liberty for the world, and as the United States lived that out, it could further propagate that gift to the world, that of freedom and liberty and representative government. And this is all represented in how we would conduct our foreign policy. He goes on this theme a bit further and says this: who can doubt that in the course of time and things the fruits of such a plan would richly repay any temporary advantages which might be lost by steady adherence to it? What he's saying here is the adherence to this policy of acting honestly with integrity to other nations would prove to manifest long-term benefits that may not be readily apparent at the beginning and would far surpass any temporary advantages that might be made by cutting corners and offering shady deals. He goes on, can it be that Providence, that is God, has not connected the permanent felicity of a nation with its virtue? In other words, isn't it one of God's principles that the happiness of a nation is associated with its virtue? The experiment, at least, is recommended by every sentiment which ennobles human nature. And so he is saying here that basically in our hearts we know this to be true, but alas, it's rendered impossible by its vices. So in other words, if we don't work toward morality and virtue, by default our vices will take over and will not exhibit this behavior. He goes on then to explore what this means if our vices take over. And he begins to talk about selfish ambition and foreign influence. So Washington continues in paragraph 33. And it gives to ambitious, corrupted, or deluded citizens, that is, those who devote themselves to the favorite nation, whether they're in a civil office or doing this as citizens, a facility to betray or sacrifice the interest of their own country without odium, that means without disgrace, sometimes even with popularity. In other words, in the ironic twist of fate, sometimes they do this betrayal of the interest of their own countries, and they're rewarded with popularity for it. They do this by gilding, that is, putting on a fake veneer that this is actually a valuable transaction. They gild it with the appearance of virtuous sense of obligation, a commendable deference for public opinion, or laudable zeal for public good, the base or foolish compliances of ambition, corruption, or infatuation. Well, again, a somewhat complex sentence, but let me break this down for you and what it means. He's basically saying, in other words, that those that operate with selfish ambition create such a facade that something that is base, foolish, full of selfish ambition and corruption is presented to the public and is put forward as something that appears virtuous, commendable, laudable, or for the public good. And so on the ironic twist of things, they receive the praise of the public, whereas they're operating under their own selfish self-interest. Some modern examples might include these for discussion if you're in a small group or if you're watching this as an individual for your own thinking. Modern examples in foreign affairs might include such things as this, just to get your mind thinking. Politicians getting campaign funds from foreign companies or countries. Companies selling technology and trade secrets that compromise national security. It might even include judges that look to foreign law to support their rulings in the U.S. in order to gain popularity and acclaim. And so these would be maybe some examples that would be representative of what Washington was speaking about. Washington now continues in paragraph 34. He says that such attachments are particularly alarming to the truly enlightened and independent patriot, because these foreign attachments that operate through selfish ambition and backdoor deals and in secret, how many opportunities do they afford to tamper with domestic factions, to practice the arts of seduction, to mislead public opinion, to influence or awe public councils, and again what this means is to overwhelm our system of government, because there are these behind-the-scene backdoor deal agreements and things being done. And then he even concludes this paragraph by saying this: such an attachment of a small or weak towards a great and powerful nation dooms the forward to be the satellite of the latter. What he means by this is that small nations that find a path to these backdoor compromises and foreign influences with greater nations will forever be beholden or will be foreign satellites or subsidiaries of the larger nation. And so basically they sell their national soul into slavery through these backdoor deals. So he even expresses a concern for those countries that are taking advantage of these backdoor deals. He finishes by saying this: real patriots who may resist the intrigues of the favorite are liable to become suspected and odious, and again that means viewed with extreme displeasure, while its tools and dupes, that is the fools that usurp the applause and confidence of the people to surrender their interests, are the ones that get the praise. And so he is re-emphasizing here the thing that I said earlier in this short seminar. Because those that are doing these backdoor deals and allowing foreign influence to come in present those things as noble and worthy and beneficial to the country, and they're believed, the true patriots that call these things out and resist them actually are viewed by the people as being suspected or viewed with displeasure because of the propaganda that those that are doing the backdoor deals and allowing for the foreign influence out of their own selfish ambition are fooling the people. And so Washington concludes all of these sentiments with paragraph 36 and says this: against these insidious wiles, that is, these deceptions, cunnings, and manipulations of foreign influence, I conjure you to believe me, fellow citizens, that the jealousy of a free people ought to be constantly awake, since history and experience prove that foreign influence is one of the most baneful foes of Republican government. So again, as we learned in another web seminar on the farewell address, Washington again says the citizens cannot be asleep on this matter. They can't be asleep on foreign policy. They can't be asleep on national debt. They can't be asleep on their government not being transparent. They can't be asleep on the usurpation of power of one branch taking the power from another branch or ruling autocratically. And so he really concludes again this short paragraph with the same challenge as it pertains to be aware of what's going on and how government might be possibly, or leaders within government might be manipulating you. Again, this is uscivicstraining.org. My name's Craig Seibert. Thanks for listening.